Get you go. Do 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 do. Oh, hello there. Hey guys, what's going on? Oh, Anton, what's happening?
About the inner structure of our planet, planet Earth. Because it
Oh,
turns out, just like the scientists thought for about 20 years now, there is definitely another structure inside our planet that the scientists are currently referring to as the innermost inner core.
scientific naming strikes again. Here's the disclaimer. You all know what that means.
Although this is going to be weird, and it's going to be about a different.
Title of the conference was something like Ground Truth or Turtles All the Way
Maybe not
Down.
the best name,
And so it
but
seems
that's
as
the only
though
name we have for
there's one
now.
rule
And
yet. I don't think it
inner
rules them
core.
all.
Maybe
And it might
Yeah,
be
instead
just
instead
hyper-ruleal turtles all the way down.
yes, it's on the back of an infinite number of hyperruleal turtles.
Various people are commenting on the outrage of hacking the universe on a MacBook Air. Um,
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anytime we're talking about like the innermost core, the molten core, I'm sorry, server first level AE Death Knight, but what's going on, guys? Memes here. And again, we are conjecturing ahead. I forgot to add that in the little beginning part there. But hopefully that actually showed up for folks. The last time I went back, it was kind of clippy and everything. So I had loaded it up ahead of time. But what the heck am I talking about here? Okay, the heck I'm talking about here, well, let's go back to our good friend Anton. All right, so Anton, his link is in the doobly-doo. If you enjoy scientific type of stuff and things, especially, let's say, on the cosmic scale, I think Anton's your dude. You can do whatever you want, but if you don't want a crazy person like me kind of just ranting here, Anton's probably he is a better choice. But let's go back to our friend here. What's happening? Oh God. We need to have some claim of actual fair use. Go on, sir. Yep.
maybe not the best name, but that's the only name we have for now. And we've actually initially discussed some of these discoveries a couple of years ago in a video that you can find in the description, but the confirmation for all of this came very recently, only a few weeks ago, from this paper right here that you can find in the description as well.
The link
In
is
this
on the
case, with
doobly-doo.
the
I totally
scientists
ripped them
relying
off.
on a completely new technique in order to investigate the inner structure of the planet,
Whoa.
and in order to discover what's
a
going
lot
on
of
on the
letters and
inside.
lines.
And by using this extremely detailed observation based on the seismic activity on
So long story short is our equipment's gotten a lot better, and mostly we just have a whole lot more seismic monitoring stations and like the ability to like communicate data via the internet and stuff. So since we have all these extra measurements, apparently there seems to be some form of a deviation from what we're assuming. Because before, what'd you have? At least when I was going to school, at least as far as I remember, what'd you have? You had the Earth's crust. That's like the crunchy outer layer. And then you'd have the mantle. And once again, kind of, it's not quite as crunchy as the crust, and there's a bunch of other stuff there, but that's the really thick part. And then you'd have the Earth's core. And it was always conjectured, well, you got the liquid outer core, and then you have like the central iron nickel inner core there, but that's a solid. And I got to thinking, just because I've been doing some thinking about protons and like neutron stars and everything. Hey, welcome, Snacks. But hey, Snacks. Remind me when PAX is. I keep on forgetting. Welcome, Batman. Good to see you. I I was more of a fan of Terraflare Batman. That was like actually just the normal Bahamut. The Mega Flare was probably the best there. But then you'd have the other thing there was like the Kaiser Dragon from Breath of Fire. I'm not saying it's the reason I'm a scale, totally the reason I'm a scaly. But speaking of tangents, okay. But it just never really made, I'm like, now the further you go down in the center of the Earth, there's going to be more pressure and everything. And like in a neutron star, they're conjecturing like there might be superfluid neutrons or like strange matter. It's breaking down into quarks and everything. Because like neutron stars, you add mass, it actually gets smaller. apparently, so I've heard, until it like eventually becomes a black hole and then starts getting bigger again. So you hit like the theoretical limit of like actual density there. Essentially, Planck mass divided by Planck length. So you got one of like 10 to the negative 8. So basically, about the mass of a human eyelash or like a flea egg or something like that. And then divided by it's something so incredibly. Basically, if you shrank the Earth down to like a blueberry, then it becomes like a black hole. Apparently, that would be one very nutritious blueberry. I'm not a doctor nor a dietitian, but yes. Oh my God, I'm unsure if you're literally, because that's literally what it is. It is literally a mass hole. I'm not sure if you're saying that because I'm literally from the state of Massachusetts, the spirit of America, the spirit of what's old and what's new. Well, Massville born and raised. I'm not sure if you're making the science joke or a memes joke here. Both those totally work, and you said it twice. So it must be true. It's on the internet. But, no, Batman, we're going to get a little bit more nerdy. Where are we going here? All right, let's take a look at some pictures.
For structures obviously interacting with one another, with the inner structures obviously creating a lot of effects on the surface as well. For example, one of the main reasons we even have the magnetosphere, which obviously protects planet Earth, is because of the very specific...
Notice that. Oh, that looks very electromagnetic. It's like you got all those lines and stuff, and apparently I think these are how we measured them or something, because they don't seem to be quite perfect, because the Earth, hey, we're a perfectly imperfect place. It seems to be pretty, we seem to fill in a particular niche. I'm just saying. Continue.
Specific type of circulation inside the outer core of the planet that turns around in just the right way to create these powerful effects. But the reason...
So what we're saying is basically like our metallic gooey center kind of articulates around a particular way, probably from like heat currents and everything like that. Plus the Earth is spinning, plus the core spins, and occasionally it flips. Apparently people are like, oh, it stopped! Or did it just flip? I don't know. At least the Earth's magnetic field flips like every, 80, 100 years or so. I sit back and I hear people saying it's flipped recently. Now, I'm not a professionally trained physicist, but if the Earth's field flips, does that mean we need to like relabel our compasses? Compi? Whatever the plural is. I'm just saying because apparently I did a very brief search on the Googles, and apparently somebody had said at least a few years ago, well, when I use my compass and stuff like that, it's actually attracted to like the South Pole or further south, because that's where like the magnetic north is, and the north is labeled that like, do we need to flip them around? I don't have the answer to this. I'm not a professional hiker. Go back to our friend Anton.
It's able to move around so much is actually because the inner core extremely slowly grows in size, cooling down, solidifying, and releasing heat and light in the process. And this heat warms up the outer core, generating the dynamo that then creates the magnetosphere.
Oh.
And so whatever happens inside the inner core is actually extremely important for basically the survival of life on the planet.
Okay, but what about the innermost inner core, my friend? Okay, we're going to get to some cool stuff. Here we go.
Is extremely challenging. There's really only one known technique.
It's a hard
that allows
calculation.
us to see the insides. It relies on detecting various very powerful seismic waves, or essentially
Why does that look like a Bose-Einstein
through the entire planet,
condensate?
changing their direction and changing
I don't know.
their
Is that
speed in
just
the
a generic?
process.
Oh, I think that was how
Because as the
they
waves
mapped
pass
it.
various
Yeah, I see those
structures,
pictures
they
there.
tend to change their direction. They also tend to change their speed, which can then help the scientists figure out where the boundaries lie, but more importantly, what sort of a density and composition the inner structure has.
Okay. Thank you. It's basically, it's a hard calculation, but the actual thing that you run into is we go to our paper friend here, who is still on Anton, but links in doobly-doo. The innermost inner core of the Earth, evidence for a change in anisotropic behavior at the radius of about 300 kilometers. So basically they're conjecturing it's about 300 kilometers, or a radius about 300 kilometers wide, maybe 400 kilometers depending on who you ask. So basically they're saying it's like a really dense thing of actual like iron, because iron is heavier than nickel, right? So that would just make sense to be at the center there. But the interesting thing that they're talking about is apparently there may be a phase change somewhere there. Because I'm like, all right, if the pressure's increasing and everything, like, I mean, when to go back to like being a liquid? Maybe a liquid in a different state. I don't know. I think we're up to like, what, like 10 states of water now, apparently? Because you could be right on that cusp, and that might change things due to density, temperature, and all that jazz. But basically, real quick, all right, since the discovery of the inner core in 1936, no additional spherical subshell of the Earth has been observed. Based on extensive seismic data, we propose the evidence of an innermost inner core with a radius of about 300 kilometers that exhibits a distinct transverse isotropy. What does that mean again? Let us know. Isotropic, adjective, physics. Of an object or substance having a physical property which has the same value when measured in different directions, often contrasted with anisotropic. It's different. So it's kind of what it inferred. Relative to the bulk inner core, specifically within the innermost inner core, the slowest direction of wave propagation is at about 45 degrees from east to west direction. In contrast, the direction of the slowest wave propagation in the overlying inner core is east-west. So for some reason, the centralist part of our planet, as far as we know or are conjecturing, has a 45 degree deflection there from what we would expect. That's interesting. The distinct anisotropy at the center of the Earth may represent fossil evidence of a unique early history of inner core evolution. Okay, that's cool. So what the heck does any of that stuff mean? I mean, we could go back if you really want to look at that. I'm just trying to... It's basically, it seems to be different the further and deeper down they go. It's like, why is this a thing? We've got the equations. It's like, we're trying to adjust the data and everything here. It's like, all right, we're measuring it out. Okay, we have all these different data points and everything, different stations. And then they start, ooh, there are some really pretty pictures here. But again, I'm also conjecturing. Full disclosure. But essentially, when they're measuring waves and stuff, once you get a change, we're assuming it's mostly homogeneous. It's mostly the same type of stuff, kind of like in a Cadbury cream egg. You've got kind of like the crispy outer. It's not even crispy. It's basically, if you put it in the freezer for a little bit, it gets a wee bit crispy for a while, and it melts in your mouth. But you get the outer layer, and you get kind of like a nougat center, and then you get that delicious, just the central, the yellowy, delicious sugar. That nougat in there. Does it really taste any different? Not really to my noticing, but it has a wee bit of a different color there, so I assume it's tastier. But I have no evidence that the Earth's core is made of tasty nougat. Don't tell Fizz. But, oh God. No. Tell her it's not a tasty snack. The last time this happened, she may or may not have contributed to the erupting of that Sharkano. She loves the fishes because they're so delish. Darn Netflix and Sharknado bitches. But, okay. What else do we have here? All right, let's just go to Wikipedia real quick. Again, take it for what it's worth. Links in the doobly-doo. The Earth has a solid inner core, distinct from its liquid outer core. Existence of an innermost inner core was proposed by Adam Dziewolski and Mikhail Ishii to explain the discrepancies in certain fit to transverse time wave models of the inner core. The status of the innermost inner core is a distinct entity, is contested. Detractors argue that anomalous data can be explained with other methods. Well, I mean, what do we have? I mean, string theory's got like 26 dimensions, and there could be a near infinite amount. Okay, a very large number of potential string theories. About 5 of them, just for some reason, happen to be what you could basically weave together as what I believe Professor Witten conjectured as M theory. Why are there 5? I mean, it's not like it has to do with if we looked into them more, they would each be following a particular path within the 5 dimensions proposed in the HF8 model, or the minimal arena, as Thad would say: time, space, mass, charge, temperature. But yeah, we got that there. See, now my conjecture is, okay, you got this central thing. Apparently this seems to be the fastest routes for seismic waves. And again, maybe I'm getting this all wrong, but all I know is if you happen to have a geometric object that's basically minimal, non-compact manifold, and it happens to have a Kleinian bottle type structure, if things are whirling all around, the fastest way is like through up and down, right? If you're going to be doing anything. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going on. Some people have conjectured, well, maybe there's a black hole in the center of the Earth. Maybe. I don't know. Is there just enough pressure? Is it just feeding that slowly and everything that something like that could happen? I don't know. I tend to think it's probably just a whole bunch of really hot molten iron going through a particular geometric action there, and if it's spinning there, that's going to add a little extra articulation. And let's say maybe there's a little bit of a vortex structure. I don't know. Could just be a simple phase change in metal there, as Anton had conjectured in the video. Again, if that's the type of thing, I think it's a pretty cool thing to check out. He also does things for good causes. But yeah, that's all I really got. I just thought this was interesting news. This was something that was going around, and it just kind of begs the tale. It's like we're trying to explore like different galaxies, like literally trying to find out what happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And just even here on Mother Earth, it's like, what's the center of the Earth made of? Oh, it's just a completely solid iron nickel core. That may portend to be something different. Is it? Hey, Jax. No, totally. It's fun to think about these things. And again, as we get better data, it's like maybe we can actually figure out what's going on. That and the oceans. The oceans actually cover, as you can see, yeah, there'd be a lot of ocean. Water actually covers the majority of the Earth's surface. Do we know what lies in the depths there? I don't know. Could there be a megalodon that's separated by a particular barrier out of a false floor? God, The Meg was actually a really good movie. I think the sequel's coming out. I actually would see it in theaters, I think. But, or could it potentially be Atlantis? I have no idea. All I know is apparently if there are going to be any type of like super crafts or everything, it's like unless you've literally found a way to kind of maybe warp space-time or whatever as you know it, that would be a really long ride. So either some folks have conjectured drones. I mean, what if they've always been with us? I don't know. I heard Dr. Eric Weinstein on the Joe Rogan Experience. Again, aside from terrifying me, he did also entertain that idea. I'm not saying that I meme that into certain areas, things on Professor Keating's channel into potential exist. I'm sure other people are doing it too. But, again, just something to think about. Just throwing it out here on the internet stuff and things, so just in case, if maybe in hundreds, thousands of years, if we manage not to obliterate ourselves, some internet archaeologist will be like, this dude was completely wrong. Or, maybe there's something there. I don't know. But that's all we got for right now. Peace out, everybody. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. It's a wacky world out there. Especially in the center. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. Peace out, everybody.
Have you guys checked out the Memes of Destruction's channel? He's an interesting dude. I like him.